It was the first time I'd gone camping alone. I'd done group trips before, weekends with friends, family, the usual. But this trip was supposed to be about clearing my head. The forest always felt safe to me. Until that night. I'd parked my car about 5 miles from the trailhead and hiked in with my gear. The first day was peaceful. No cell service, no people, just me and the sound of the wind in the trees. I set up camp near a small clearing by a creek. As the sun set, a low mist started to roll in. Not unusual for Oregon, but it came fast, thicker than I expected. Within minutes, visibility dropped to maybe 10 feet. The forest looked different, quieter, almost wrong. That's when I heard it. A man's voice, distant, muffled by the fog. Just one word, hello. It sounded like it came from the direction of the trail, calm, curious, almost friendly. I froze. I hadn't seen a single person all day. I called back, hey, you lost? No answer, just silence, then the faint sound of footsteps. Crunching leaves, slow, deliberate. I pointed my flashlight toward the sound, but the beam was swallowed up by the mist. Nothing. Then the voice again, closer this time. Can you help me? That's when I realized it wasn't echoing like a normal voice. It was too flat, like it came from nowhere and everywhere. A shape appeared, tall, still, maybe 30 feet away. I shouted, I can't see you. Stay where you are. No response. The shape tilted its head, like it was studying me. Then it took a step forward. I stumbled backward, nearly falling over my tent. My instinct told me to run, but I didn't want to lose my camp in the fog. That's when it spoke again, but this time, it said my name. No one knew I was here. I hadn't told anyone where I was camping, not even my brother. Hearing my own name in that flat, human but not human voice. I can't describe the kind of fear that grips your chest in that moment. The shape disappeared. I couldn't see anything, just the pale gray swirl of mist. I packed what I could in a panic and started toward the creek, following the faint sound of running water to orient myself. But no matter which way I turned, I kept ending up back at the clearing. It was like the forest had shifted, rearranged itself. I finally yelled, "Who are you?" The figure didn't move. Then, I heard footsteps behind me. When I spun around, there was no one there, but the ground was disturbed, as if someone had just walked through the leaves seconds earlier. Something brushed against my shoulder, cold, damp, and unmistakably human. I dropped the flashlight, and when it hit the ground, the beam landed on a pair of wet boot prints. They led straight to my tent. The flap unzipped halfway. I whispered, "Please, don't." And then, a face leaned out, pale, stretched, eyes too wide, mouth open like it was gasping for air. It stared at me, then whispered again, my name. I ran. I didn't stop until I hit the forest road near my car. When I looked back, the fog was gone, completely gone. Like it had never been there. The next morning, I hiked back in with 2 rangers to grab what I'd left behind. The fog had lifted. My tent was still there, but on the inside of the fabric, written in the dirt, smeared by a finger, was one sentence. See you next time, Ryan. I've never camped alone again, and every time I see fog rolling through the woods, I swear, sometimes, I still hear it, that voice, calling my name. In the fall of 2018, my friends and I decided to hike a remote section of the Appalachian Trail, the part that cuts through western North Carolina. We weren't thrill seekers, just 4 regular people looking for a quiet weekend. But that trail wasn't quiet. Not really. It was supposed to be a simple 2-day hike. The plan was to reach an old ranger station marked on an old map, camp nearby, and head back the next morning. That building was the first sign something wasn't right. By late afternoon, the woods had gone eerily silent. No birds, no insects. Even the wind had stopped. It's strange how you don't notice sound until it's gone. Every step of our boots on the dry leaves echoed like thunder. Our phones lost service hours earlier. But we weren't worried. The trail was marked clearly, and the map said the station was only a mile ahead. Then, just as the sun hit the horizon, we saw it. It didn't look like a ranger station anymore. Just a rotting cabin surrounded by weeds and broken fence posts. The door hung loose, creaking when the wind blew. The air inside smelled like wet dirt and something metallic. The walls were covered in names, carved deep into the wood. Hundreds of them. Some crossed out. One name caught my eye. Claire 2009, the same name as my girlfriend, who was standing right beside me. She said, "Weird coincidence." But something about the way the letters were gouged into the wall, deep, desperate, made my stomach turn. We camped about 30 feet away, near a fallen log. Nobody said it out loud, but we all felt it. The forest had gone wrong. Every crack of a twig made us jump. Around midnight, I woke up to whispering. At first, I thought it was my friends talking near the fire. But when I unzipped my tent, the fire was out, and everyone was asleep. The whispers were coming from the direction of the cabin. They were faint, like someone speaking through fabric. Then a woman's voice, soft, calm, saying, "Come inside." I should have stayed put, but curiosity, or maybe something else, pulled me toward it. The door, which would shut before bed, was now wide open. It was colder inside. My breath hung in the air. Then, from the back corner, I saw movement. A person sitting on the floor, their back to me. Long hair, thin shoulders, trembling slightly. I whispered, "Hello? Are you hurt?" No response, just soft mumbling. I took one more step, and the figure turned its head. It was a woman, but her eyes were missing. Just two dark hollows. I stumbled backward, hit the wall, and ran outside. My friends were already up, shouting. They'd heard the same whisper, "Come inside." We decided to pack up and leave immediately, even though it was still dark. But when we looked for the trail, it was gone. The fog had thickened, and every path looked different. We walked in silence for maybe an hour, trying to find our way back. Then someone whispered, from the fog behind us, "Wait for me." It wasn't any of our voices. Claire screamed. She said she saw someone walking just behind us, a woman in a ranger's uniform. But when we turned our lights that way, the fog was empty. We finally reached an open area, and froze. There was a rope hanging from a branch, swaying gently. At the base of the tree was a wooden sign. Carved into it were 3 words, "Stay on trail." None of us spoke. We just turned and ran, straight downhill until we saw the faint glow of dawn through the trees. When we reached the main road hours later, the fog lifted. We told a local ranger what we'd seen. His face went pale when we mentioned the cabin. He said, "There's no ranger station out there. It burned down in '09. That night, back at the motel, I searched online for any record of that fire. I found one. The ranger who died in it, her name was Claire. Every year since, I've looked at that same section of the Appalachian Trail on the map. And every time, that cabin still appears, faintly marked in faded ink, like it's waiting for someone else to find it. In 2021, I took a summer job as a fire lookout for the US Forest Service. The tower was 40 miles from the nearest town, 10 miles from the nearest paved road. It was supposed to be solitude. It became something else. Most nights were quiet, just wind through the pines and the crackle of the radio. You learn to enjoy the silence out there. But then, on the 3rd week, the silence began to feel wrong. It started with lights. Tiny flashes deep in the forest, like someone striking matches. Too bright for fireflies, too low for aircraft. I logged the sighting, possible campers, northeast quadrant. But the lights didn't move, didn't dim, didn't fade. They just pulsed, slowly, almost like they were waiting for me to notice. At 2 a.m., the radio hissed. Then a voice came through, faint, distant. A man's voice saying, "Tower 6, do you copy?" I answered, "This is Tower 6. Go ahead." No response, just static. I assumed it was another lookout. But when I checked the roster later, there was no Tower 5 or 7 within 60 miles. I was alone out there. By daylight, I convinced myself it was a glitch. Then, around noon, I found something strange, a trail of footprints in the dirt around the base of the tower. Bare feet, no shoes. They circled the ladder twice, and then vanished into the trees. I radioed base. They told me no one was scheduled to check on me until Friday. It was Monday. That night, the lights were back, but multiplied. They shimmered in perfect rhythm, like some kind of signal. I aimed my binoculars and froze. They weren't lights at all. They were eyes. Whatever they were watching me. When I turned the spotlight on, they blinked out, every single one, at the same instant. Around 3 a.m., the radio came alive again. Same static, same voice. "Tower 6, status check, we are coming up." I grabbed my flashlight and pointed it down the ladder. Nothing. Just black forest and mist. Then I heard it. Footsteps climbing, slow, deliberate, creaking each rung. I shouted, "Who's there?" The footsteps stopped, then continued, faster. I shoved a cabinet against the door and backed away. For 10 minutes, the footsteps circled the tower, boards creaking under weight I couldn't see. Then silence. When morning finally came, I opened the hatch. There were handprints on every rung of the ladder, black, as if burned into the metal. The radio was silent the rest of the day. I decided to hike down to the service road early. Halfway down the mountain, I found something that stopped me cold. Another tower. Identical to mine, but old, abandoned, windows shattered. On the side, the number still barely visible under rust, 6. The logbook on the desk was soaked, pages rotted. But one line was still readable. "Lights again tonight. They are closer. They know my name." The entry was dated 1978. When I got back to my tower, the sun was setting again. I packed my gear, ready to leave for good. That's when the radio crackled one last time. Same calm male voice, "Tower 6, do you copy?" I froze. Then it added, "We found your report in the old tower. Stay put, we are almost there." I looked outside. The valley below shimmered with hundreds of glowing eyes, all moving uphill in perfect formation. Not men with flashlights, something else. Something that had been climbing that mountain for decades. The tower shook. The last thing I remember is the door bursting open and a blinding white light swallowing everything. They found the tower abandoned 2 days later. No trace of me. But on the final page of the logbook, in handwriting that wasn't mine, someone had written, "Tower 6, status, active." They still assign rookies to that post every summer. And some nights, when the weather's clear, hikers swear they can see 2 towers up there, one lit, one dark, both watching. If you made it this far, you're braver than most. But the forest still remembers every name it hears. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because the next scream you hear might be yours.